Hello everyone and welcome to today's Wild Rift video. Today I'll be talking about my 5 top picks for Wild Rift patch 6.2e. A lot has changed over the past few weeks with a lot of buffs and nerfs to both items and champions, but these are the 5 champions that I feel like are the strongest right now in the game and also have the best carry potential in solo queue. And if you feel like I've maybe missed out on a champion and there's a champion that you want to highlight, let me know down in the comments. And as always, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel for more banger Wild Rift content. Starting in the Baron lane, we have Poppy. Poppy has always been at least in the S tier when it comes to tier lists ever since her release. She's a great champion that has tons of crowd control, a lot of damage, and a great amount of tankiness. And also because the meta is going towards champions that have a lot of dashes, you think of Kha'Zix and Viego and Aatrox being very powerful right now, Poppy is the perfect counter. With her second ability being able to block any of these dashes, whether they're trying to dash away or dash into your team, you can then stun them and then hit them with your other crowd control. And Poppy is kind of similar to Ornn as well, where you have so much tankiness when you're going for the likes of Heartsteel, but then you have a lot of damage in your kit as well with your first ability on top of items like the new Yordle Sunfire. Poppy just has everything you need in a champion in the Baron lane, a frontline tank that has engage, has great disengage, and can offer so much to your team. And for the build, of course, we're going for a tank build with Poppy. You do have a bit of flexibility. You can go for a more damage style build with Trinity Force and Sundered Sky, but when you're playing in the Baron lane, the tank build is the best. You have Heartsteel, which actually procs on your range auto attack on your first ability, Sunfire Aegis to help with a lot of damage over time, Mantle of the 12th Hour, Twin Guard, and Thornmail, just a whole bunch of tank items. Same with Grasp with Heartsteel. You can actually proc Grasp the Undying with your passive. When you do this really well, you can do bonus damage in the lane and it'll help you stack your Grasp arc quicker. With Nullifying Orb, Second Wind of course being one of the most broken runes at the moment, Overgrowth or Perseverance. If you're against a lot of crowd control, then Perseverance can be great, and then Transcendence as that secondary rune to get as much ability haste as possible. With the summoner spells being Flash and Ignite, you can go for Teleport. I have tested out Teleport a few times over the past couple of days, but I really like the kill pressure that Ignite gives you during the laning phase. Moving into the jungle, I could have easily put Kha'Zix on this list, and honestly I maybe should have, but I'm gonna go for Viego instead. Viego was already a very strong champion before the buffs that came in a few days ago, but now with more base AD and more attack speed on his third ability, Viego is now up there as one of the best solo carry junglers in the game with the likes of Kha'Zix. Viego just has so much carry potential, but there's one thing with Viego that you need to bear in mind, that you actually need to know what every champion does in the game, because when you're taking souls, when you're trying to get resets with your ultimate, you're actually going to be stealing the enemy's abilities, the enemy's items. So you actually need to know how to play other champions as well as your own. But if you know how to play every champion, and if you know a general idea of how other champions work, then you can easily carry with Viego. Resets with his ultimate, crazy burst damage build, and he is just absolutely disgusting right now after the buffs to his base AD. Speaking of that burst damage build, we're going full crit with Viego. Crit Strike Viego has been a lot more popular than the on-hit version with likes of Blade Rune King and Trinity Force, just because you want to try and go for one-shots. You want to try and get your resets as quick as possible. So we're going for the likes of Collector, Essence Reaver, Mortal Reminder, Bloodthirster, and then a flexible last item. You can go for Guardian Angel, Maw of Malmortius, or Death Stance. I like Collector as a first item. Essence Reaver probably gives you more damage, but Collector allows for snowball potential. If you build Collector and you get a few kills in the early game, when that gets stacking, it becomes very difficult to deal with, and of course synergizes very well with your ultimate to try and get resets and try and execute enemy champions. And of course we have Mortal Reminder, Bloodthirster in there as well. Bloodthirster being very important as kind of the defensive crit item to give you the lifeline passive. Conqueror being the main rune to give us damage, the same with Gathering Storm. Giant Slayer very good when you're playing against tanks, since Viego can struggle a little bit to burst down tanks, and Legend Alacrity for more attack speed, with Overgrowth as our secondary rune so we get more health as we clear through the jungle. For the mid lane, I've gone for Ahri. I mentioned in my previous video in my tier list that I feel like Ahri is the best playmaking champion right now in the game, especially in the mid lane, and my opinion has not changed. With how flexible her ultimate is, whether you want to use it aggressively or defensively, you being able to reposition at any time during a fight, being able to get the perfect angle for your charm, your third ability, ability, and then you do a crazy amount of burst damage. Your roaming potential is great. Your only laning phase is also pretty decent. You have great wave clear with your first ability and your second ability. You can also try and hit charms on enemy champions if they do walk up a little bit too much. But in general, Ahri is great, all-round great mid laner, very easy to master, very easy to play. Like I said, the main thing is hitting your charm and then using your abilities afterwards, just to make sure you deal the most amount of damage possible. And being a mid lane mage assassin, of course, we're going for the AP style of build. I like Malignance over Luden's Echo. I know a lot of people like Luden's Echo as well. I think Ahri's wave clear is already enough. You do get a little bit more burst damage with Luden's when you're going for your full combo, but I like Malignance because I like to engage first with my ultimate and make sure I guarantee hit my third ability. However, if your playstyle is a little bit different, if you like to sit in bushes and start off a fight with your charm, then Luden's is probably going to be better. It's kind of a playstyle difference. If you use your ultimate first, then Malignance is going to be great because you use your ultimate, you land your charm, and they're going to be stuck in that Malignance pool for the whole charm effect. Lich Bane is great. You're always going to be auto-attacking pretty much in between your abilities, at least once when you're trying to go for your burst combo. Then, of course, Death Cap, Infinity Orb, Crown of Shattered Queens. These are just basic AP items. Electrocute for our burst damage when we're hitting charm with our other abilities. Sudden Impact, again, that's just kind of my play style. Sudden Impact when you go for your ultimate, plus the Malignance proc, and then your charm. Your other ability is going to be able to do burst damage with Cheap Shot in there to give us more true damage when we hit our charm. And I like Zombie Ward for mid lane. I actually take Sweeper when I get out the base and when I first start off the game, and then I use a Sweeper to try and clear wards early on, just so we can get more ability power over time to give us more burst damage. And for the secondary rune, you can go for Gathering Storm if you want more AP over time. I like Bone Plating because I like to play really aggressive with my ultimate. Sometimes I can get picked off a little bit, but with Bone Plating, it's going to help us take reduced damage over time. Moving down to the dual lane, first we have my marksman pick for this patch, and I've still gone for Varus. Even after the nerf that we just received a few days ago, nerfing his base AD, his AP ratio on his second ability, and his ultimate, I still think he's one of the best AD carries to play out there. I say AD carry marksman, he's more of an AP champion now because of the rework that came in patch 6.2. When the rework first came out, he had one of the lowest win rates, but now with the buffs that happened a few weeks ago now, some crazy numbers got buffed with Varus, and he soon climbed up to the highest win rate marksman in the game. That's why they had to nerf him a few days ago, but I still think he is very powerful. The great thing about Varus is he has a very unique playstyle. He focuses a lot on his attack speed and his on-hit damage from his second ability, but he has a mix of both AD damage, AP damage, and also can deal true damage with his items as well. So he's one of the most difficult champions to itemize against because you want to build magic resist because he's building a lot of AP items. He's still doing AD damage with his auto attacks, but then if he stays in combat for a few seconds, you can deal true damage with the likes of Riftmaker as well. And when you mix this around with how fast your attack speed goes, and also your lockdown with your ultimate, being able to proc your Blighted Quiver stacks very quickly with your other abilities, that can then lower the cooldown and do even more damage with your abilities. So overall, I think the champion just has way too much agency and way too much carry potential in his kit. As I mentioned, the build is very unique now. There are loads of different items here that you're probably not used to seeing on Varus, but this is the best build for him because he now focuses more on attack speed. Berserker's Greaves, which got a nice little buff a few patches ago, which now you can restore health every single time you auto attack. Nash's Tooth and Runa's Hurricane are both our on-hit items, giving us a lot of ability power. It will give us AD in the early game since we have Berserker's Greaves, but once we buy one Amplifying Tome, that will change into ability power, which is quite nice. So it gives us the AD to help us in the early game, and then it can swap into AP later on, but also gives us a lot of attack speed as well. The on-hit damage from Nash's Tooth is great, and then Runa's Hurricane gives us spread damage to spread our Blighted stack, and also gives us more on-hit damage with the single targets. Then, as I mentioned, a Riftmaker with the true damage, really nice, also gives us some more healing. And then your last two items are pretty flexible. I like Infinity Orb and Awakened Soul Stealer to deal with as much burst damage as possible, but you can go for Trident, Marinanomicon if you need anti-heal or anti-shield. For runes, Lethal Tempo, as I mentioned, you're focused more on auto attacks now. We want to get as much auto attack speed as possible because we're dealing so much on hit damage with our second ability. Brutal is going to help us with that, with the extra auto attack damage. Giant Slayer to help us destroy tanks. more attack speed with legend alacrity, and then bone plating to help us survive any burst damage. With the summon spells, I like cleanse. I think cleanse is very important with so much crowd control in the meta right now. But if you're not against any crowd control, you can go for like a ghost or exhaust instead. And of course, we have flash in there as well. And lastly, for supports, this might be the surprise pick of this video for you all, but I've actually gone for Nami. I think Nami has the best of both worlds when it comes to needing an enchanter that also has very strong engage and a lot of crowd control. Nami has always been a champion that's hovered around the A and S tier for quite a while, but she's never had the opportunity to really reach into the S plus tier because how strong Lulu and Yumi was back in the day. Then of course Zillion coming in, destroying the meta. Seraphine was so powerful with her AoE shielding and healing, same with Sona and Karma. So Nami's never really had her opportunity to kind of get a light in onto the meta. But now I think with so many of the other supports actually being nerfed, Nami has now had the opportunity and has the opportunity to be a great support in the game. And when I say best of both worlds, we have a lot of healing with our second ability, but we also have a lot of crowd control. Her bubble and her ultimate are two of the best engage abilities in the game. You can also use it defensively as well to try and peel for your AD carry. You also have slow effect on your third ability, which can be used on ally champions. You have a lot of ways in which you can carry with Nami. One good tidal wave, one good bubble with your first ability, and you can easily carry a fight. With the build, we still have the enchanter support playstyle with boost lucidity, giving us a lot of mana regeneration, but also giving us the cooldown. Harmonic Echo works very well with Nami's second ability. You can actually heal someone from half HP to nearly full HP when you have Harmonic Echo fully stacked, and also your second ability up and available. Ardent Sensor giving us and also the AD carry that we give a lot of attack speed. Starflow Flowing Water gives ability power and ability haste. And then for your last item, it's pretty flexible. You can go for Protector's Vow. Redemption can also work very well if you're sticking close to your AD carry, or you can either go for anti-heal or anti-shield with Morello, Economicon, or Trident. Ahri helps us a lot, whether you're going to be healing your allies or dealing damage to enemy champions. Both situations work very well with Ahri because it can help us deal more damage, also give our allies a bit of shielding. I like the more aggressive style that I like to play with Nami. So when I come out of lane, I like to play aggressive. I like to go with Scorch, Empowered Attack, and Zombie Ward. Empowered Attack especially works very well with Nami's third ability, and it makes it easier to also land your other abilities as well. Most of the time, you actually be seeing me using my third ability on myself because I want to walk up, I want to auto attack a champion, and then it makes it easier for me to land my bubble. Then if I land that bubble, my teammates can follow up to me afterwards. And then Zombie Ward, dual lane, there's so many wards that gets placed around. You can easily walk around and get some more ability power, and then Transcendence as well, giving us even more ability haste to help us use our abilities more often. And for some of the spells, we have Flash, and then we have Ignite. Again, me with my aggressive playstyle with Nami wants to go for Ignite to try and get that early kill pressure. And that's going to do it for my picks for Wild Rift patch 6.2e. Plenty of variety of champions in this patch. Whether you want to pick a tank, a more carry style, an enchanter, there's a pick for everyone in this patch to try and go onto the Rift and carry your games. As always, if you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you leave the like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know down in the comments what champion you've been having success on in the new patch. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.